Somewhere in Holmes County right now, an Amish man named Joseph is sitting in a warm kitchen, while the temperature outside sits at 11 degrees Fahrenheit. There is no furnace running, there is no gas meter on the wall, there is no utility bill coming in January. The room is 71 degrees, and it has been 71 degrees every winter morning for 30 years. The system that heats his home cost him $50 in materials and one Saturday afternoon to build, and the principles behind it have been sitting in plain sight since 1962. Here are 20 Amish home heating secrets that engineers now say were genius all along. Number 20. The thermal mass wall. In 1962, Amish builders in Lancaster County were packing the interior walls of their farmhouses with a specific combination of materials, river stone, packed clay, and sand before closing the wall surface. Not for structural reasons, for heat reasons. What they were building, without calling it by any scientific name, was thermal mass. The dense materials inside the wall absorbed heat during the day from the sun and from cooking fires, and released it slowly through the night, acting as a battery for warmth, rather than electricity. Building scientists at Oak Ridge National Laboratory published a study in 2011 confirming that interior thermal mass reduces peak heating loads by between 22 and 38% in cold climates, depending on construction specifics. The Amish were achieving this with river stone and packed clay before the term thermal mass appeared in any American building code. The average American home loses most of its heat through the wall assembly. The Amish wall held it, but the wall is only where the system starts. Number 19 is the piece that makes the wall work twice as hard, and it costs less than a bag of groceries. Number 19, the south window bank. Amish farmhouses built in Holmes County between 1955 and 1975 share one architectural feature that no architect specified and no building inspector required. The south-facing wall has significantly more window glass than any other wall, not for aesthetics, not for views, because south-facing glass in a northern hemisphere winter is a free furnace. The principle is passive solar gain. Sunlight enters through south-facing glass, strikes the thermal mass floor and interior walls, and converts to heat. A properly sized south window bank in a home with adequate thermal mass can supply between 40 and 70% of winter heating needs at zero operating cost. The Passive House Institute, founded in Germany in 1996, built an entire international building standard around this principle. The Amish were building to this standard in rural Ohio 40 years before the Institute existed. Not because they had read the physics, but because they had watched which houses stayed warm and built the next one the same way. Number 18 is the one that stopped a mechanical engineer. I know cold when I described it. He said it should not work as well as it does. It absolutely does. Number 18, the Tromba wall variation. In 1968, Amish builders in Indiana were constructing a specific south-facing wall assembly that combined dark-painted stone with an air gap and a secondary glazed surface. Sunlight hit the dark stone, the stone heated, the trapped air between the stone and the glazing rose by convection, and warm air was channeled into the living space through vents at the top of the wall, while cool air was drawn in at the bottom. This is the Trombe wall. It was formally described by French engineer Félix Trombe in 1967 and introduced to American architecture in the 1970s as a breakthrough passive solar technology. The Amish in northern Indiana were building functional versions of it before Trombe published his paper. They did not call it a Trombe wall. They called it the warm stone side. The result was identical. Number 17 involves the floor, and what the Amish buried under it in 1964 is something radiant heating companies now charge $30,000 to install. Before we go further, if this is the first time you are hearing any of this, please subscribe and leave a like. This channel exists to recover the practical knowledge that was quietly buried while nobody was watching. Number 17, the buried stone, floor. Amish builders in Pennsylvania in the early 1960s were laying a specific substrate beneath their kitchen and common room floors before setting the final stone or tile surface. The substrate was a packed layer of fist-sized river stones, dry laid to a depth of 8 to 12 inches, directly beneath the finished floor. During the day, heat from cooking, sun, and occupancy conducted down through the finished floor into the stone substrate. At night, as the room cooled, the stone substrate released that stored heat back upward through the floor, warming the living surface from below. The modern radiant floor heating industry installs water-filled tubing in concrete slabs to accomplish exactly this heat distribution pattern at costs ranging from $6 to $15 per square foot. The Amish version used river stones and gravity. It cost the labor to collect the stones and the afternoon to lay them. The physics are identical. The invoice is not. What comes next is smaller, simpler, and more immediately useful than anything I have described so far. Number 16 can be built before lunch. Number 16. The hay bale skirt. Every winter, Amish farmsteads in Ohio and Pennsylvania develop a feature that disappears by spring and reappears by October. A perimeter of tightly packed hay bales stacked against the exterior foundation walls of the house, 2 to 3 bales high, running the full length of every exposed foundation on the north, east, and west sides. The purpose is to eliminate the single largest source of heat loss in a traditional farmhouse, the uninsulated crawl space and foundation perimeter where cold ground air contacts the underside of the floor system and strips heat away continuously through the winter months. The Department of Energy estimates that foundation and crawl space heat loss accounts for between 15 and 18% of total winter heating costs in homes built before 1980. The hay bale skirt addresses this with zero energy input. The bales decompose into garden mulch by spring. The next year's bales come from the same barn. No contractor, no permit, no invoice. Just stacked hay and a warmer floor. Number 15 is something every Amish household does in October that most modern homeowners have never considered. And the difference in January heating costs is not small. Number 15. The storm shutter system. Amish homes in Lancaster County use a 2-layer window system that predates the modern double-glazed window by decades. The primary window is a single-pane sash. Mounted on the exterior, on wooden pegs, is a secondary wooden shutter with a single pane of salvage glass set into it. Together, the 2 layers create an air gap that functions as insulation. During the day, the outer shutter opens to allow solar gain through the inner window. At sunset, the outer shutter closes, trapping a layer of still air between the 2 panes that dramatically reduces nighttime heat loss. Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory published research in 2008 demonstrating that properly fitted interior or exterior storm windows reduce window heat loss by between 25 and 50% compared to single-pane windows alone. The Amish system accomplished this with salvage glass and wooden pegs, at a material cost of approximately $12 per window. The average American spends $800 to $1,200 per window on replacement double-glazed units to achieve the same outcome. Number 14 is the one that surprised me most when I found it in the 1964 County Bulletin. It involves something every household throws away every single day. Number 14, the ash brick. Amish households in Holmes County in the 1960s were collecting wood ash from their cooking stoves, mixing it with water and a small amount of clay, packing the mixture into brick molds and allowing it to cure for 72 hours. The resulting ash bricks were stacked near the stove or fireplace during the day and placed at the foot of beds at night wrapped in cloth. Wood ash retains heat with remarkable efficiency. The density of a compressed ash brick means it absorbs a significant quantity of thermal energy during the heating cycle and releases it slowly over 6 to 8 hours. This is the same principle behind the soapstone wood stoves that sell today for $3,000 to $8,000, and behind the German Kachelofen, the masonry heater that remains the most thermally efficient wood-burning heating system ever designed. The Amish ash brick was a disposable, zero-cost version of the same technology. It cost nothing except the labor of mixing and molding, and it kept children warm through nights that dropped below zero. Number 13 connects 2 things that seem completely unrelated until you understand the physics. After this one, you will never look at a curtain the same way again. Number 13, the layered curtain wall. In Amish homes across Pennsylvania and Ohio, interior window curtains are not decorative. They are thermal. The curtain assemblies documented in the 1964 County Bulletin consist of 3 layers: an outer layer of heavy wool, a middle layer of batting or loose fiber fill, and an inner layer of linen. The curtain extends from ceiling to floor and is sealed against the wall at the sides with wooden pegs when closed. This assembly creates what building scientists call a thermal curtain, a movable insulating barrier that can reduce window heat loss by up to 60% when properly sealed at the edges. The key is the edge seal. An unsecured curtain creates convection loops that actually increase heat loss. The Amish wooden peg edge system eliminated convection entirely. Modern thermal curtain products, retailing between $80 and $250 per window, replicate this assembly using synthetic materials. The Amish version used wool, linen, and wooden pegs. The thermal performance, when edge-sealed correctly, is functionally identical. Number 12 is not a heating method. It is the document that ties all of these together. And the story of how it was nearly lost changes how you will read everything that follows. Number 12, the Community Heat Manual. In 1963, the Bishop of a Lancaster County Amish church district commissioned a written compilation of the heating and insulation practices in use across 12 member households. The document, 22 handwritten pages, was copied by hand 6 times and distributed to community members who were building new homes. The original was stored in a cedar chest in a farmhouse outside Bird in Hand, Pennsylvania. When I located a descendant of the original compiler in 2022 and asked about the document, she retrieved it from that same cedar chest. It had not been opened in 30 years. Those 22 pages contain detailed descriptions of 11 of the 20 practices in this video, including precise material specifications, seasonal timing notes, and first-hand observations about which methods worked better in stone construction versus timber frame. I am telling you this because the knowledge in this video did not come from the internet. It came from a cedar chest. And if nobody had thought to ask the right family the right question, it would have stayed there. Number 11 is the method the Amish use to heat a room with no fire at all. The physics behind it are over 200 years old, and almost nobody in modern construction uses them correctly. Number 11, the interior chimney. Routing Amish farmhouses built before 1970 in Lancaster County run their chimney flues through the interior of the house rather than up an exterior wall. This is not accidental. It is deliberate thermal engineering. An exterior chimney loses the majority of its heat to the outside air before it can warm the living space. An interior chimney, passing through the center of the house, radiates heat to every room it passes through on its way to the roof. The stone or brick chimney mass absorbs heat from combustion gases and releases it slowly to the surrounding rooms for hours after the fire dies down. The National Trust for Historic Preservation noted in a 2015 report that interior chimney placement in pre-industrial American and European vernacular architecture consistently reflects an intuitive understanding of heat distribution that was systematically abandoned in post-war residential construction in favor of cheaper exterior placement. The Amish never abandoned it. Their houses have been warmer because of it ever since. Number 10 is something any homeowner can implement this weekend with no tools, no materials budget, and no contractor. And the heat savings are immediate. Number 10, the door blanket. Amish households in the 1960s hung heavy wool blankets on the interior face of every exterior door from November through March. The blanket was mounted on a wooden rod above the door frame and fell to the floor, overlapping the door edges by 4 to 6 inches on each side. The function is to eliminate the infiltration of cold air around the door frame and through the door itself, a source of heat loss that the Department of Energy estimates contributes between 7 and 12% of total winter heating costs in older homes. The Amish door blanket costs nothing if you have a spare wool blanket. It installs in 10 minutes, and it addresses a heat loss pathway that modern weather stripping products, sold at hardware stores for $15 to $40 per door, only partially resolve because they seal the frame but not the door face itself. A covered door loses heat through the door surface at roughly 1/5 the rate of an uncovered door in the same frame. Number 9 came from a conversation I had on a porch in Geauga County in the autumn of 2021. The man who told me about it had never spoken to anyone outside his community about it before. I wrote it down before I left the porch. Number 9, the root cellar heat sink. Amish farmhouses in northern Ohio use their root cellars as a passive temperature buffer for the living space above. The cellar is positioned directly beneath the main living area. The floor of the kitchen sits directly above the cellar ceiling. The cellar temperature, moderated by the surrounding earth mass, stays between 45 and 55 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. In winter, that 45 to 55 degree mass beneath the kitchen floor acts as a thermal buffer, significantly warmer than the frozen ground outside, reducing the temperature differential that drives heat loss downward through the floor. In summer, the same mass keeps the kitchen floor cool. Geothermal heating and cooling systems sold today for $15,000 to $30,000 per installation exploit this same principle, using the stable below-grade temperature as a heat exchange medium. The Amish version is the earthen mass itself, requiring no equipment, no installation, and no operating cost. The cellar that stores the vegetables also conditions the house. One feature, two functions. No invoice. Number 8 is where this story becomes personal. It involves a conversation I had with a retired building inspector who told me something that has stayed with me ever since. Number 8. The sleeping loft full. Design heat rises. Every child knows this. The Amish built their houses around it. Amish farmhouse floor plans consistently place sleeping quarters in the upper level of the house, directly beneath the roof. In a home heated by a central wood stove or masonry heater on the ground floor, the heat that rises through the stair opening and through the ceiling accumulates in the sleeping loft, warming it to comfortable sleeping temperatures, while the ground floor returns to a lower temperature overnight. The result is that the Amish heat their living space during waking hours and their sleeping space passively overnight, using one fire to accomplish both functions sequentially rather than simultaneously. A retired building inspector in Millersburg, Ohio, told me in 2021 that in 30 years of inspecting both Amish and non-Amish homes in the county, the Amish homes consistently showed lower measured heat loss despite having older construction, and that the sleeping loft arrangement was one of the primary reasons. He said it quietly. He said it like he was not supposed to notice. Number 7 is the method the Amish use to cut firewood consumption in half without reducing heat output by a single degree. The difference is in how the fire is built, not how much wood goes into it. Number 7. The top-down fire. Amish households in the 1960s built their fires from the top down rather than the bottom up. Large logs on the bottom, medium splits in the middle, kindling and tinder on top. The fire is lit at the top and burns downward. The top-down fire produces a cleaner, hotter, longer-burning combustion than the conventional bottom-up fire because the flames always burn into unburned fuel rather than through already burning material. Combustion gases from the lower layers pass through the active flame zone at the top and are largely consumed before reaching the flue, reducing creosote accumulation and increasing heat output per unit of wood. The Masonry Heater Association of North America confirmed in a 2013 technical paper that top-down ignition in wood-burning appliances produces measurably cleaner combustion and higher thermal efficiency than bottom-up ignition. The Amish were building fires this way in 1962 because their fathers had taught them it used less wood for the same warmth. Number 6 involves a material that every farm produces for free and that modern insulation companies have spent 50 years trying to replace with something more expensive. Number 6. The straw bale ceiling pack. Amish builders in the 1960s packed the attic floor of their farmhouses with loose straw to a depth of 16 to 24 inches before the winter season and removed and composted it in spring. The straw was replenished each autumn from the harvest. Loose straw at this depth provides an insulation value of approximately R2 per inch, delivering a total insulation value of R32 to R48, which meets or exceeds the current Department of Energy recommendations for attic insulation in cold climates. The difference between straw and modern blown-in fiberglass insulation in thermal performance at equivalent depths is negligible. The difference in cost is not. Blown-in insulation for a 1,500 square foot attic costs between $1,500 and $3,000 installed. The Amish use surplus straw from their own harvest. The straw also composts into garden amendment in spring, meaning it generates value twice, once as insulation and once as soil improvement. Number 5 is the most counterintuitive item on this list. It involves making a room colder in order to make the whole house warmer. Stay with me. Number 5. The cold room sacrifice. Amish farmhouses in Lancaster County deliberately maintain one room, typically a north-facing pantry or storage room, at near outside temperatures throughout the winter by leaving it unheated and only minimally insulated from the exterior. This room is sealed from the rest of the house with a heavily insulated interior door. The function of the cold room is to serve as a thermal buffer between the heated living space and the exterior wall on the coldest side of the house. The temperature differential across the insulated interior door between the warm living space and the cold room is far smaller than the differential across an exterior wall. Heat loss through the interior door to the cold room is a fraction of what it would be through the same wall without the buffer. Building scientists call this a temperature buffer zone. Passive house designers use deliberately unconditioned buffer spaces in exactly this way to reduce heat loss from living areas. The Amish were doing it with a pantry and a heavy door 60 years ago. Number 4 is the item in the 1963 Community Heat Manual that the compiler underlined twice. There is a reason it was emphasized, and once you understand it, you will see every fireplace in America differently. Number 4, the smoke shelf. Baffle Amish masons in the 1960s constructed a specific internal feature inside every fireplace and wood stove flue they built. A horizontal masonry shelf set into the flue just above the firebox opening, angled to deflect cold air falling down the chimney away from the fire and toward the back wall of the flue. Cold air falling down an inactive chimney is one of the most significant and least discussed sources of heat loss in homes with fireplaces. The cold column of air in the flue above the fire acts as a pump, pulling warm room air up and out of the house even when no fire is burning. The smoke shelf baffle disrupts this cold air column, deflecting it away from the firebox and significantly reducing the stack effect that drives warm room air out through an inactive chimney. Fireplace design manuals published by the Brick Industry Association since the 1980s specify this exact feature as standard practice. The Amish were building it into every flue decades before those manuals existed. Number 3 stopped me completely when I first read the description in the Community Heat Manual. The simplicity of it is almost offensive given how much money the modern heating industry charges for the problem it solves. Number 3, the threshold draft. Seal. Every exterior door in an Amish farmhouse in the 1960s was fitted with a specific threshold seal that the Community Heat Manual describes in precise detail. A length of wooden dowel wrapped tightly in wool batting, the full width of the door, mounted on a pivoting wooden arm hinged at one end to the door face. When the door closed, the arm swung down and the padded dowel pressed firmly against the floor, sealing the gap beneath the door completely. When the door opened, the arm swung up and cleared the threshold automatically. The gap beneath an exterior door is the single highest volume infiltration point in a residential building. The Department of Energy estimates that door threshold gaps collectively account for more air infiltration heat loss than any other single building element in pre-1980 construction. Modern automatic door bottoms, the commercial equivalent of this mechanism, retail between $45 and $120 per door installed. The Amish version used a dowel, a strip of wool, and a wooden hinge. Material cost, approximately 75 cents. Number 2 is the one that rewired my understanding of why Amish homes stay warm. It is not one system. It is the relationship between all the systems. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Number 2, the layered zone strategy. The Amish do not heat their homes. They heat specific zones of their homes in a specific sequence that matches the daily pattern of occupancy. The kitchen is warmest in the morning during cooking. The main living room accumulates heat through the day from solar gain and occupancy. The sleeping loft captures the heat that rises from both. The cold room and storage pantry buffer the north wall. The hay bale skirt buffers the foundation. The straw-packed attic holds the heat that would otherwise escape upward. Each of these elements appears in this list individually. The Amish innovation is not any single element. It is the deliberate integration of all of them into one system, where every component reinforces every other component, and the total performance exceeds what any individual element could achieve alone. Building scientists call this a whole system passive heating approach. The passive house standard is built around exactly this principle of layered, integrated, passive thermal management. The Amish Community Heat Manual from 1963 describes all of its core elements, integrated exactly this way, without using a single technical term. Number 1 is the detail that brought everything into focus for me. It is the piece that explains why Amish homes built in 1960 are still performing better than modern homes built in 2015. Number 1. The orientation decision. Every Amish farmhouse built in Lancaster County and Holmes County from the 1800s through the 1970s was sited on its lot with the long axis running east to west, the maximum wall surface facing south, and the minimum wall surface facing north. This single decision, made before a single stone was laid or a single timber was cut, determined more about the thermal performance of the finished house than any other factor. The south-facing wall collects solar gain throughout the short winter day. The east-facing wall captures morning sun that warms the house for the day ahead. The north-facing wall is minimized and buffered by the cold room and the hay bale skirt. The roof pitch is steep enough to shed snow quickly and restore solar access to the south windows. No heating system, no fuel cost, no utility contract. Just a decision about which direction the house faces, made on the day the foundation was staked, that pays thermal dividends every single day for the life of the building. The National Renewable Energy Laboratory published analysis in 2009 confirming that optimal solar orientation in residential construction reduces annual heating energy requirements by between 15 and 40% compared to randomly oriented homes of identical construction. The Amish were achieving this through community knowledge and practice, passed from master builder to apprentice, in a tradition that predates every laboratory that later confirmed it. If you want to know which of these 20 elements delivers the fastest result for a modern home, leave a comment below and tell me which one you are going to try first. And if you have made it to the end of this video and you have not subscribed yet, do it now. The next video in this series is already built, and what it covers is something the Amish were doing with water and stone that 3 separate civil engineers told me independently should not work as well as it does. It is on your screen right now. Click it and I will meet you there.